Guys, a couple of days ago I opened up a canard lock. It turned out to be a 4-pin, actually 8-pin. It was a 4-pinner, but they were pin-in pins. No security pins, no alien tech, no nothing. Really junky kind of lock. Good for training, but not so good for a challenge. This is a real multi-lock. It was sitting on my porch. It was sent in by Jay Holmes. He apparently changed the lock on his front door, sent in all the hardware, hinges, everything goes along with it, but we're just going to try to pick this one. This is a real multi-lock, and it's a little bit different than that canard. Well, it's a lot different. First of all, this is what's called an interactive key. And I'm going to try to answer some questions you guys have sent in. A couple of you, in fact several of you, said, why don't they make it more difficult to pick by putting a higher cut on the center pin than is on the outer pin? And maybe I didn't show that very well in the canard video, but let's take a crack at it now. Take a look at this. These are really deep cuts on here, and this outer ring, this one, the large ring, is for the outer pin, and then there's a special cut for the inner pin. Notice that one, I'm trying to do this through the camera, is about the same as the outer cut, maybe very slightly deeper. Now let's look at his neighbor. Again, this is for the outer pin, and there's the inner pin, a little mountain inside of there. He's definitely higher cut than the outer pin. So what makes these locks hard is you got to be very precise with the placement of the pick. If you're pretty sloppy and you kind of have the pick half on the inner pin, half on the outer pin, you're going to end up picking both of them, in which case you might pick the inner one, but you're going to overset that outer one. So you got to kind of watch that. This one, again, about the same, very high cut. And this one, I think that one is a little bit lower, actually, than the outer pin. Now let's talk about this guy. I skip right over him. This is called the interactive element, and if this is the one that goes on the other side, you notice that these little guys move. We don't know how far he's supposed to move, and that's the whole purpose of this. Nobody can take an impression of this key and then cut another one, because you won't know how deep that pin is supposed to be. Interactive element. So we don't really care about that as pickers. We got to pick it anyway, so don't worry too much about that. Let's go ahead and try to pick this thing. Get this stuff out of the way. Get a clamp in here. Get rid of this old falcon. Alright, got that baby tied down. Key works perfect. Alright, before we start picking this thing, let's talk just a little bit how I'm going to try to go about it. You're going to have to use your imagination just a little bit. Pretend that this handle is actually a key pin, and this is the flat flag. Now, I'm going to try to pick the outer pins first. Now, there are inner pins on these. If we try to pick this the way that we do pin tumblers, we're going to try to center that pick as best as we can, right on the tip of that key pin, and then we're going to try to pick it. If we do that, we're going to overset either the inner pin or the outer pin, one of them, and then of course it's game over. So here's how I'm going to try to go about it. I'm going to try to slide the pick down the keyway until I feel the rounded edge or the angled edge of that key pin, and I'm going to kind of get it centered on that. Then I'll pick it from there, and you'll be able to feel the spring resistance. Likewise, if you're coming from the back of the lock and you're coming out and picking that direction, you can also center it on the rounded edge from that side and pick it from that side as well. Just remember, if you try to center it, and if you accidentally pick both pins at the same time, if you don't position it properly, you're going to overset one of those pins, and then game over. Alright, enough talking. Let's see if we can do it. What I'm going to try to do, I'm going to try to use the tensioner so I can keep my hand out of the frame, and I'm going to be using a flat flag just like I showed you. This one's a little bit smaller. I'm going to be sliding it down the right side of the keyway. Let's see if we can zoom in a little more. Right side of the keyway, and that'll index the tip of that pick right at the center of the pins, just the way we want it. So light tension and slide it back until you feel a pin resisting you. Like I call them speed bumps, and that would be the binder, and it looks like it's the first pin here. So keep on light tension and then pick him. Try to get him positioned on that rounded. There we go. You got to click, and then just keep sliding him until you feel another binder, and that feels like 4. And then next one is 5. Now we got a very slight false set, but we're not home yet. You'll know when you get all the outer pins picked, because you're going to get a really dramatic false set. So let's just keep messing around here, trying to find another binder. I'm going to apply a little more tension on the tension wrench to force a binder. And that was pin 4. Got a good fault set, but again, I don't think it's quite where we need to be. Now he's stuck. Come out of there. Alright, I'm on pin 3 and I'm getting a little counter rotation there, so position him. So he's probably a spool. Okay, and we lost our fault set, but we got that spool picked. So every possibility I could have overset the inner pin on that one. So if you can't find another binder, that's probably exactly what happened. I feel no counter rotation on any of those guys. There we go, I'm on pin 4. Try to get him picked again. He fell down. Okay, now we got a good fault set, but I still don't believe I'm stuck on pin 3. He's back down. Don't believe we got that or all the outer pins picked just yet. I got some counter rotation on 2, so he's probably a spool. Alright, I think we got him, but we lost a little fault set again. And there we got a deep fault set now. That's what it should look like when you're hung up on the inner pins. So you almost think you got the lock open. Get that centered again. Now I'm going to go in and do the same thing. Now remember on those inner pins, the springs are much weaker. So if you use the same level of force on your pick, you're going to end up oversetting that inner pin. So I'm looking for a binder, just like I did with the outer pins. And let's see what we got here. And there we go. Got it open. Alright, not a lot to it. You just have to pay attention and be aware that the outer springs are much more powerful than those inner springs. And just pay attention to the feedback. Let's go ahead and open this guy up. I know we got at least 2 spools in this. That's why one of the things I really like about multi-locks. You do have a key, so I can lock this one back up. They almost always have these security pins inside of there. So it really makes it, now what have we done? There we go. Alright, let's get a pinning tray. Get all this stuff out of the way. And a Phillips screwdriver. These are also fun to gut. You got to pay attention to those pins. They end up launching up into your eye. Okay, so I believe we can pull them out about like that, and I think that should be good. I need a medium. That ought to do the trick. Okay, why don't we turn it so the pins don't fall out on us. We'll turn them like this so that they don't fall out. And there we go. You can see 5 pins in there. Let's go ahead and pull these dudes out first. Maybe. Okay, that's the inner pin from pin number 2. He had fallen out. Come out of there. Got to keep them from coming all apart on us. Okay, nothing weird in there, thank goodness. Got an anti-drill pin there. Alright, let me set these guys up straight so we don't get things too mixed up. Okay, he's right, and he needs to be turned around. Alright, let's get these guys from upstairs. Okay, we got a spool. Come out of there. Got a spool. Banded spring. No, it's not magnetic, it's just caught on that hook. We got another spool. Why am I having so much trouble grabbing these guys? Very nice sharp edges on that guy. Now, why is every one of these grabbing onto my tweezers? Give me a break. Alright, 3. Another spool. There's spring. Nice looking spool. And remind me, somebody, to show the close-up of the tray. Another spool. And the last one. We got a standard. And there's nothing weird on the springs. Again, thank goodness. Alright, here's what we got, guys. Let me get this guy, put him over here. Let me line these up, pin and pin. So these are a little bit dirty because I used some of this Houdini on there to lighten things up because there was some corrosion. It looks like we have a spool in position number 1 on the key pin, and then a standard. Then we have a spool and another spool. And then on the upper we had, looks like a standard, and then 4 spools on the top. So there you go, guys, the Mul-t-lock Interactive. These things can be a lot of fun. These are definitely not training locks. This is the real deal. Anyway, Jay Holmes, thank you for the lock and all of that hardware. Really do appreciate it. Everybody else, stay safe, stay legal.